Welcome to the Leaderish Podcast with your hosts, Regina and Doris. Hey, Doris. How's it going?
Hey, Regina. It's going very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. And here's why. Last week, you and I went to a networking event. A dear friend of ours, Amy, puts on this women's networking event every other month. You and I went, of course, we had a great time. And we met some amazing women at this, but the one that I am most excited about, I think, is our guest today, and it's Heidi Siefkas. And Heidi is an author and a storyteller and just has the most amazing story to share with us as leaders to help us grow and learn. Heidi, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Heidi Siefkas, and I am an author of 4 nonfiction books. The first 3 were about my backstory, but I've leveled up on my 4th book, Look Up Global Stories of Resilience, by telling almost 30 individuals real life shiro, hero, and badass stories of overcoming obstacles and thriving in spite of them. I'm also a TEDx speaker and an adventurer.
Oh, an adventurer. I love this thought of adventuring. But first, because I want to come back to that because I think it's really important, will you tell us a little bit more about Look Up?
Yes, Look Up is a mantra that I created almost 15 years ago, and it was sparked by my full-blown life catastrophe. And I think a lot of people have had one of these moments that it just seems like everything in your life is falling apart. And this happened to be my early 30 fall apart. High power career, marriage, and health all in one fell swoop. What was that impetus that started that? I took out the trash. Life can change in an instant, and I did something as mundane as taking out the trash, and a 1,000-pound tree limb struck me from 30 feet in the air, lights out. From the miraculous recovery and going through a messy divorce and career loss simultaneously, I said, I've got to come out the other side learning something from this mess. And it was that we don't have much control over this thing called life, but we do have the power of tapping into perspective. And that's what Look Up reminds us to do 2 things. 1, to be in the moment, appreciating the beauties around us as well as hazards. And then 2, to find the upside in any situation that you find yourself in, whether that's Nashville traffic, an annoying TSA line at whatever airport you're at, or your boss's reaction to your last project.
Yeah, one of my favorite mantras is stolen from Mel Robbins, the book, The Let Them Theory. And it sounds somewhat similar when you talk about Nashville traffic or somebody that annoys you, is you let them. And I think very similarly, you can say, look up and finding the positive in it. So you allow that thing, whatever it is, that negative moment, whether it's as big as a limb falling on you, a divorce, other relationship challenges, that allow those challenges to happen because you have no control over them. And that's what the let them theory is all about, is you don't have control over life and the things that happen to you. What you do have control over is how you react and how you behave after that happens. And look up is a great mantra to have, is to think about that. And looking up is a very positive mantra as you think about it. And I think it's just wonderful. And it sounds amazing that you've been able to use the last, I think you said 10, 15 years of your life looking up and being able to look at these challenges right in the face and say, yeah, you're not going to get me today. I'm going to continue to be positive and I'm going to plow through, and my life is going to be great in spite of these obstacles that I have to get over.
So, Heidi, your book is a collection of stories from different people across the globe. And the one thing that they all have in common is resilience. They've made it past or made it through a very difficult or trying situation. What are some of the things that the folks in your book did to get through their trying situations?
So I started writing this book when I resided in Maui. And I started with people that I knew. So people that were heroines or heroes in my life, mentors. And they came from all walks of life, all ethnicities, genders, some people that had escaped war, immigrated to the United States, survived the Maui fire, survived Hurricane Andrew in South Florida. And even though they may speak different languages, they may have different religions, the one thing that was the common thread was a connection to look up, that they tapped into that power of perspective, of finding the silver lining or making margaritas out of the lemons that life gave you. That stuff is what was the glue that made this work. It's really remarkable how common all of us human beings are. A lot of times we look at how different people are, but the ability to tap into this inner strength was highlighted in each and every one of these stories. And when I got about halfway through the book, I was 15 chapters in, I had another lookup reminder, and it forced me to pause for a year in writing the book. My life partner of 12 years died in a plane crash off the coast of Maui. And the furthest thing from my mind was writing a book. I had to recreate a life after dealing with that tremendous grief. And I moved to Nashville and this creative mecca to kickstart not only the book, but my life. And from that restart here in Nashville, I was able to complete the collection. And it's as if I came back with more grit from that experience to find the stories that would complete this in the just the perfect combination, so that this isn't a chicken soup for the soul for cancer survivors. It's a chicken soup for the soul for everybody, and it's bigger than the book. It is actually a life tool, a movement.
I'm sure you can't pick a favorite because probably if you have 30 stories, you have 30 favorites. But if you could maybe share one or two of the ones that maybe resonated the most with you.
Prior to launching the book, I had a sneak preview and I picked 3 chapters. And the reason why I picked those 3 chapters was because they had something to do with the book and the author. So I started the book in Maui. So I had to start the book off with the Maui fire, which just had its 3rd year anniversary. And the story that Pamela Reeder shared with me is just powerful, of escaping an apocalyptic fire and choosing to rebuild not only her home, but the community there. Then from that tremendous story, I flipped switches to my childhood. My family sponsored a Hmong family to come to the United States and escape their refugee camp in Thailand after fleeing their native country of Laos. And so this is a story of an immigrant's family moving from Asia to rural Wisconsin and starting life up again as adults. And then I ended that sneak preview with a story here in Nashville, which basically talks about where I am today and where I eventually completed the book. And I lived in downtown Nashville next to the Nashville Rescue Mission. And I knocked on their door and said, I think there's probably a story here that can inspire others. I'm creating this collection. Do you know anyone that would do me the honor of sharing their story of overcoming homelessness with me and then the readers of the book? And Crystal Knight, a woman who overcame homelessness, drug addiction, alcoholism, she went through the Nashville Rescue Missions program and is now clean, married, and a supervisor at the Nashville Rescue Mission, helping others do the same thing that she did to her own life. So if that gives you kind of soup to nuts of how this could inspire you or someone you know who's going through a trying time, or maybe somebody that is supporting someone who's going through a trying time, this book is going to make you feel all the feels.
I love it. Is there something that moves people into action based on what you've learned and the people that you've talked about? Because when you have a crisis, you can stay in a pit of despair and you can wallow in it, or you can choose to build your resilience and find a way out. What is that common trait or theme with these individuals who have found their way out of crisis?
I think most people in the book would say they didn't think they had a choice. It was part of their DNA, and also that they had a community of support backing them deciding to move forward. It doesn't mean that you can't learn resilience, because you can. There's, I think, two ways that you can. One is you have these life interruptions or curveballs that are thrown at you and you learn the hard way. That's why you have these mentors that are maybe younger than you or in a different avenue of life than you. And then there's those people that actually take a daily or a practice of trying to get fit with your resilience muscle. Just like going to the gym, you get more tone and fit, but you can also get fit with the ability to flip your switch and automatically pivot into plan B.
Wow.
I know a lot of the people listening are leaders in the corporate world. And tying back into Regina's question on maybe training our leaders, is there something that can be learned as a leader on helping either your peers or your direct reports, or even maybe the people over you, thinking more of a 360 view of resilience and helping others? Is there something that you've learned in all of your research that could help leaders be better at teaching resilience, or at being that supportive community, creating communities around somebody that they work with that could use that help?
I think having a community that embraces the new normal or the plan B, instead of automatically self-correcting to return to what normal used to be, is step one. And maybe we don't talk about solely leadership within the building or in the organization, and allow or foster opportunities for people to do challenging things that don't necessarily fall within their job scope, but that you can easily transfer the lessons that you learn from hiking a very strenuous trail, or learning a new sport like stand-up paddleboarding and being solely focused on staying on that board. Or let's face it, going on a first date is tremendously stressful, and making it through maybe your first 10 Bumble dates, that's also an adventure and a way to get over some fear in a way that isn't at the boardroom, that you can then transfer to the next time that you're giving a powerful presentation, but you're scared because of the impacts that it will have on perhaps your team and perhaps profits and the stock market.
Okay, so here's what I heard. You don't necessarily have to build resilience through crisis. You can build resilience every day by trying new things and taking even small risks, like going on a date.
Absolutely.
Wow. I hadn't thought about it that way. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and when you said the first 10 Bumble dates, I thought even in the corporate world, the first 10 business days that one of your new employees is there, and helping them feel comfortable in their new role and using your skills as a leader to make them feel resilient. Because when you come into a new workplace, you're nervous, you're not sure exactly what you're supposed to do. Even if they have a good training program, you need someone to really help you through that point where you don't feel very resilient. Those first maybe 10 days, could be first month, but you need a strong leader to help build that resilience to get you through that first month, first 3 months until you're really comfortable and you're resilient on your own.
I think that it's very important for the example that you stated, but almost maybe take a step back to in the hiring process.
Mm-hmm.
Talent is what you put in the job description, what you want to check the boxes. But don't forget to ask some questions about how gritty is this person? Are they going to give up at the first challenging quarter that we get? Or do they have the skill set to pivot this campaign? Do they have the resilience to recover from, let's say, a year that we don't give bonuses or put in X, Y, and Z? So I think leaders and HR departments need to factor in resilience as well as the CV.
Yeah, I love that. And that's a really great pivot is in the hiring process. And those are great questions to ask. And I know that a lot of interviews are using behavior-based questions, but some of those behavior-based questions can come out of left field and seem a little odd. I think you just created probably 3 or 4 behavior-based questions that are great questions. And I think if someone asked me, so we normally give bonuses. Every March we give bonuses and it's 20% of your salary. But let's say we have a bad year. How are you going to manage that? And just see what, even their body language, their tone, as they're thinking through how to answer that question, you will probably see some resilience or lack thereof as they are considering the answer that they want to give in this interview. I love that.
Yeah, me too. I do want to switch gears just a little bit because Heidi, you are a self-proclaimed storyteller and your TEDx talk is awesome. And I loved how you told that story. It was just so impactful and so beautiful and had its twists and turns. And I'm wondering, as an expert in storytelling, what tips could you share with our listeners around storytelling and how to enable resilience within your team?
Storytelling needs the human element to it, the connection that you establish from the get-go. In my TEDx talk, I used technology and basically that this is our pacifier in life. And what happens when this doesn't work? We have a little mini meltdown. We turn it off and we turn it back on, and most likely that has solved the technology glitches. But I use that as an analogy to humans because we sometimes keep on piling stuff on us until we end up with a unfavorable diagnosis at the doctor, or we get served divorce papers, or we get a pink slip. And we could have dealt with that much earlier on, but we keep on pressing pause on our own life updates. As far as storytelling tips, there needs to be an emotional connection, a beginning, middle, and end. Tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you told them. And I try to leave people with a call to action because I am a marketer. And the call to action in my TEDx talk was, what's your next adventure? So that they were taking the bull by the horns and going to do a life change of their own or their own self without letting it happen to them. And then the second question was about resilience. Could you remind me what part of resilience you wanted to talk about?
So what I'm hearing you say is you make a personal connection within your stories that you share as a leader, and that was to help build resilience. But I think the other thing that I was thinking as you were talking was that you do have to be vulnerable in your storytelling. They have to be real. Your stories that you share with your team, your peers, your leaders, to help them build that resilience has to be your real stories. And you have to open up in order to do that. And there needs to be a level of trust in order to get there with your teams to leverage storytelling to build resilience.
And I think when it's a true story, that's something about being comfortable enough to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
that was really one of the sparks of this book, is when I shared my personal stories in my books as well as the TEDx talk. People came out of the woodwork sharing their stories of really traumatic experiences, challenges that I couldn't ever imagine. And it was me, basically, I tell people writing a memoir is like getting naked in front of someone you don't know in Alaska.
Oh boy.
It could be a whole book club in Alaska that you're getting naked in front of, what writing a memoir is. And I found out that I couldn't please everyone, whether they were included in the book or not in the book. So I just had to just take the gloves off and be proud of what I put out there to the world. It was really interesting. Some people didn't like the way they were portrayed in the book, or people were like, am I not important enough to be in the book? So anyway, just a little heads up for anyone who's thinking about writing their personal story in a nonfiction book. I think that's probably the reason why many prefer to do fiction. But beware, there's a lot of truth behind those fiction novels.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
That's right.
I have a question regarding, you mentioned technology and storytelling. So I want to incorporate an AI question and where you feel the importance or the dangers of AI as you think about storytelling. And I know Regina and I both use it. I use it more as an editor. So the stories, they're all mine, but I will input them into ChatGPT and let it help clarify or use bigger words or whatever. And so I just treat it as my editor, and then we'll go back and forth a few times. But I'm curious how you use AI or how you feel AI is important or not important in storytelling.
So I embraced AI because I thought AI was going to take my 9 to 5 job. I basically am a content creator for organizations telling a brand story. And I started investigating in 2022, but ChatGPT in 2022 is not ChatGPT of 2025. So I did not use AI in writing this book. I did use AI to transcribe the Zoom interviews that I did to collect the stories so that I didn't have to rewatch hours of interviews. I also used AI to organize the chapters into an alternate. I had created one and my editor had created another, and I wanted another alternative to weigh how would be the structure of this book from an AI perspective and from two humans. And I made a hybrid of what AI produced and what two humans produced to organize it in 4 parts so that it follows the journey of trauma and recovery. I did use AI in creating the audio version of the book, because how could I do 30 plus voices? So I used AI to take off my plate, 1, studio time, 2, the need to pay 30 voiceover artists time. So I really embrace it for time saving. Also, I'm not a one-woman show because I have someone who helps me with web development, cover design, that kind of stuff. But I have now the ability to add a lot of other hats with AI enhanced tools. So I'm a fan, but I still think that human stories are better than what AI can produce solely on its own. And there needs to be the editor-in-chief or editors-in-chief that really go through there with a fine-tooth comb and give it that personal connection and the choice of the right word. There's still nothing like the Heidiisms that I throw into the chapters, people would know it was AI produced if there wasn't something like that. Like, who says I was fueled on caffeine until it's appropriate to drink wine? That's something that I would say, but AI would not say that. They would say she drank coffee all day and then maybe had a wine with dinner.
I love it. So you do use a little bit of AI. So you're obviously a supporter of AI. I think most of us in the workplace now are using AI in some form or fashion. Who knew that this conversation would move into AI? But here's the thing that I think we all three agree on. AI doesn't replace our humanness. We can use AI, but it can't replace us as humans or the humans that work with us. It can give us ideas. It can brainstorm with us. It can be our editor. It can even do some voiceover work, but it can't actually do the work that humans do. I love it.
And it doesn't have the experiences. It didn't climb the mountain. It didn't learn how to paddleboard. It didn't learn how to play pickleball.
Yeah, sometimes I think it thinks it did.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and then it like creates these weird delusions around what it's like standing up on a paddleboard or pickleballing. Anyway, I love it. I think that's fabulous. I do have kind of one final question as we wrap up. Looking ahead, how do you hope that the lookup movement will influence leaders, both established leaders or emerging leaders, in navigating uncertainty and building resilience?
I think we're in pivotal times, and this couldn't have been more perfectly timed, as I think whether you are looking at economic reasons, political reasons, personal reasons, AI shifting job roles, we're all going to be changing and very rapidly. And now is the time to get your resilience muscle pumped and primed. You got to embrace plan B. And when the you know what hits the fan, just take a moment to look up, be in the moment, and eventually you will find what the lesson is in this mess. But the timing of this book is absolutely perfect. And I hope that people really take it to heart and start implementing in their daily practice a lookup reminder. Put one in here at a time during your day.
What a great idea. Put a reminder in your phone to look up. I love that. Yeah, because you
really
can do that
simple.
anytime and just take a moment to be completely present and figure out how you're going to take that next step forward. Because isn't that what resilience is? Yes. It is the next step forward.
Absolutely. I know a lot of people, they set a timer for 11:11 every day and pause. And that might be where they add the look up part of it. I love that.
Mine's set at 11, so maybe I'll shift it to 11:11. So there's more good vibes going on all at the same time.
That's right.
I love it.
That's right.
I love it. All right. Well, that is about all the time that we have for today. Heidi, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for chatting with us. What a lovely conversation that we had. And if you want to reach out to Heidi, all of her information is going to be in the show notes. So you'll find links to her book, to her TEDx talk, and a way that you can reach out personally to Heidi if you're interested in having her be a speaker within your organization or do some other work with her. You can also follow us on this journey. You can find us at Leaderish Podcast on Instagram. Of course, we have our brand new YouTube channel. So if you are listening to this on your phone, you can check out that YouTube channel at Leaderish Podcast, and you'll see all of our last probably 10 episodes on video, but every single episode that we've ever created for Leaderish is also in audio form on YouTube as well. And we'd love to have a 5-star review. If you're on YouTube, give us that like, that little thumbs up, give us a subscribe, leave a comment. That really helps out the algorithm so more people can see us. If you're listening on an audio platform, we love those 5-star reviews, and again, love those comments. So we'd be really grateful if you would support us in that way. And if you're interested in being a guest and you have an engaging topic, reach out to us at leaderishpodcast@gmail.com with your desired topic and some information on how we can stalk you, and we'll follow up. All right, ladies, that's about it for us today. Cheers.
Cheers.